The origins of traditional Scottish cheese here in the Highlands goes back to Viking times. But today there is just one example still made. Its name is Crowdy, and I've come here to see how it's made and learn more about the revival in traditional Scottish cheese making. The Highlands of Scotland boast some of the most spectacular landscapes in the British Isles. Mysterious lochs, shaded glens, mountain peaks and wild windswept islands make this region a magnificent place to visit. But the Highlands are not generally associated with cheese. Instead, they're home to sheep and some rather hairy-looking cattle. The most conducive region in Scotland for producing cheese is the green, fertile valleys of the southern uplands. To get a historical perspective on artisan cheese in this part of the world, I've decided to visit cheesemaker Rory Stone at Highland Fine Cheeses. This small family dairy was established by Rory's mother and father in the 1960s. They put Scottish cheese back on the map by reviving Crowdy and an unusual chieftains cheese called Caboc.
Where does it all start? Because obviously Scotland's been influenced by the French, got a long, long history, but where's all the cheese gone?
Well, I think for the Highlands, for this part of Scotland, I mean, we understand that cheese is really just preserved milk. Every little croft, every little farm and family had their own house cow. When you had a bit of surplus milk, you skimmed the cream off the top and churned that into butter, so you preserved one food source. Right. You've got the skim, which you left by the range. Yeah. It would naturally sour, you kept it nice and warm, all that lactobacillus culture from the cow was in the milk, and it would ferment and set, and then you scramble it like eggs, scalded it, yeah, mashed it up, perhaps put a little bit of cream back in, smooth the flavour a bit, add some salt, hang it up in a muslin, and that's it. You've got your preserved food source, Crowdy. So, well, this is where we mature the cream to press into Caboc. Now, Caboc is this very, very peculiar product. It's, they're all sequenced. You can age it up to 6 to 8 months. It was originally made on the Isle of Skye by McDonald's. And cheese was known as white meat. Well, it's very white because it was all skim milk and, of course, the cream going into butter. But the McDonald's thought they'd be a bit smarter. And they would take the cream and try and make that into a cheese for the chieftain. Oh, okay. So it is the chieftain's cheese.
So there is a cream in here?
This is all...
And this is the chieftain's cheese?
Chieftain's cheese.
The start of Caboc?
This is the start of Caboc.
It's all mouldy.
It's a very, very peculiar product. And at this stage, you've got a slightly... Well, you try it and tell me what you think of it. What we do with this is we hang it up in muslin bags and let any whey drain out. Then we press it and it gets reversed on itself.
It's beautiful texture, and it's slightly salty too.
It's a little salty at that stage.
You've got to put salt in there?
There is a little salt.
Right. That is absolutely delicious. And it's got that fantastic texture to it. It's really lovely.
Okay. It can get pretty wild in there.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more mould in there.
Yeah, it can do.
That's amazing. Well, I've never expected to see mouldy cream being turned into
cheese.
A traditional cheese. Extraordinary.
Well, come on, we'll go and have a look around some of the other bits.
The family claim that this oatmeal-coated cheese is made to a recipe handed down from Mariotta de Ile, the daughter of a 15th century MacDonald of the Isles. It's a convincing story, and if not for Susanna Stone's famous ancestors, Caboc and its ancient cousin might well have been forgotten forever. And the addition of oatmeal to the outside was an absolute inspiration.
So you can see now it's obviously a lot firmer than it was when it was in the churn, and then rolled in oatmeal on the outside, and It's got very rich butter texture, and the toasted pinhead oatmeal, and that's definitely Scottish oatmeal.
And that was definitely your mother's recreation
Yes.
of the chieftain's cheese.
The chieftain cheese is original to what's in the middle, and the oatmeal was put on the outside so that people had the experience of the texture and the flavour of a cheese on, like having it on an oatcake, basically.
Yeah. Now, I always recommend bread with cheese rather than biscuits. But if there's one exception to this rule, it's the Scottish oatcake. And Rory's told me that one of the most distinguished of all producers is based not far from the Stones Dairy.
Welcome to Speyside.
Must be James.
I'm delighted to meet you, Will. Come on in. Come on in.
The Walker family have been baking for more than a century and have built a global reputation for Scottish oatcakes and shortbread.
In the old days, wheat didn't grow in Scotland, so oats was the only crop that grew well in the cold Scottish climate. With the result, the Scots grew adept at turning oats into oatmeal and made a very, very wholesome cookie or biscuit or cracker out of oatmeal. And that has become, you know, the iconic Scottish oat cake. And I think the Scots have had a way with oats. And I'm sure you know the story of...
Scots have had a way with oats, for sure.
I'm sure you know the story of Dr. Johnson when he visited Scotland. He wrote back to his friend in England and he said that I've been eating a lot of oatmeal up in Scotland, and he said in England this is something we feed to horses, but in Scotland the people eat in Scotland. And the Scots friend turned to him and said, yes sir, and that's why you have such fine horses in England and such fine men in Scotland.
One of the most famous legends in Scotland is the Loch Ness Monster, first recorded in the 7th century. Despite the many hoaxes, scientific opinion still remains divided on whether Nessie really lives in the deep waters of Scotland's longest loch. Artisan cheesemakers in Scotland were once as hard to find as the famous monster, but in the past decade, all that has started to change. To look at a modern example of Scottish cheese, my next stop is Connage Dairy, not far from Fort George, built to pacify the Highlands by the English after the Jacobite Rising of 1745. The origin of Crowdy dates back to the Vikings, and it was once made from skimmed cow's milk left over from making butter. The short summer this far north meant the Highlands of Scotland have never produced much surplus milk for cheesemaking. And Crowdy was once known as crofters or porridge cheese because it provided a very practical way to ensure nothing was wasted.
It's our modern twist on the old-fashioned recipe because the farmer's wife used to make it in the kitchen and it was very dry and crumbly. We've just got this little modern twist and we've made it moussey. It's got the same acidic, lovely lemony flavour, with a little bit of salt added for preservative, but because we're organic and it is vegetarian, we don't add any other preservatives into it. We make a full range of products from it, cheesecakes.
It's really lemony.
It is, really, isn't it? You get in. And
fantastic.
What's so wonderful is when you make it, you open up the vat in the morning, you get this wonderful waft of a lemon smell. It's just fantastic.
That lactic flavour.
Oh yes, great,
Yeah.
really good. And it depends on what our cows are eating too. They've got a high clover-based diet, but we actually feed them the same diet all the way through the year. So we make silage. So it's white and red clover that we're using, which is very high in omega-3. But we don't add cream either to our Crowdy, whereas the older recipe did have cream in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you're looking at that at around about 90% fat-free. So that's
So I
quite a
can
good
keep
plus.
eating loads of
You keep eating it, it's lovely, yes.
Jill explained this simple cheese was once made by putting a jug of fresh raw skim milk beside the stove to sour and curdle. Because the milk is now pasteurised, lactic acid is added to encourage coagulation. Then the fresh curds are mashed, mixed with salt, and then hung the traditional way in muslin bags to drain. This cheese, it follows a recipe for Caboc. That's a bit older, isn't it?
It is. The Caboc is an older recipe and does actually have cream in it and rolled in pinwheel oatmeal.
There are a variety of other cheeses made here, including an award-winning brie style that I was very eager to try.
Yes.
That is delicious.
It's a
Really
nice
lovely too.
cheese. Yes, we sell a lot of that. Here's Callum.
Oh, is this the cheesemaker?
Yes, this is
your
the
husband?
cheesemaker. This is my husband, Callum.
Sorry, I don't met you.
Hi, Will.
Hi,
Will.
Will.
Stud. How do you do? What have we got here?
Oh, this is just a little snack just left. I just made some up there just now, so.
What's this? Is that the crowdie?
This is the crowd. Yes, this is the crowdie, and we've also got the smoked salmon from Akatabui.
Akatabui?
Yes, over in the Western
okay.
Summer Isles.
Yeah.
So we thought you would like to have a little taste.
Well, that's nice of you.
Yes.
This is how you normally have lunch.
Oh yes, we do. Yes, definitely. It always involves
That's great.
cheese.
That's another use of crowdie. Now, I hope these
Yes.
oatcakes aren't quite as good for my constitution as this one here.
This is a little bit more refined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're into wholemeal, we can actually have a toast in the morning.
Yes.
Little tom-tom tomatoes and
Yes.
your cracked pepper. It's just absolutely
Lovely.
beautiful in the
That's
morning.
lovely.
Very good at alleviating the effects of whiskey, apparently.
It's magic,
Magic.
Magic.
as they say down in Glasgow.
I couldn't visit Scotland without trying a wee dram of whisky. So I dropped into Glenfiddich, one of the largest and most well-known of all the distilleries, to see how it was made. The process of making Scotland's national drop begins with malted barley, which undergoes soaking and heat treatment to extract the sugars. The liquid, essentially a beer, is then fermented and distilled. And at this distillery, they age their finest whisky for a minimum of 12 years.
We're looking for the nose, what we call it, the aroma. You can put your hand over the top, swirl it around, and you get that wonderful, wonderful aroma. Part of the pleasure of drinking good whisky.
How would you describe that aroma?
Well, our aroma is slightly pear almost. That's my pear. It's
Yeah.
quite, goes quite nice with cheese, actually. Whisky.
Of course, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
What sort of
So,
cheese?
well, nice blue cheese, something like Strathdowne blue. Very nice with our whisky.
So, Fergus, how do you drink it? With water? Without?
Well, it depends on the whisky. Some whiskies I like neat.
Yeah.
A little bit of water releases the essential oils.
So sometimes a little bit of water. you put
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay.
With our Glenfiddich, a little bit of water all the time.
Now you're saying this is a big seller, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the world's #1 selling single malt.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks very much. What do you say in Scotland instead of cheese?
Slanjava.
Go on, say it.
Slanjava. Your
Slanjava.
health.
I've travelled to the stunningly beautiful northwest coast of Scotland to look at one of this country's most respected modern cheeses. It's adapted from a cheddar recipe made on the farm from raw milk. And its name, of course, is Isle of Mull cheese. The Isle of Mull is the second largest island in the Inner Hebrides, and its reputation for excellent cheese is entirely due to Chris and Jeff Reed. They moved here from Somerset, England in 1979 and bought a small farm near the village of Tobermory. But it took 20 years before they fully roofed the old farmhouse and built the island's only cheese dairy. Today, the Reeds milk a small herd which spend only a few short months outside grazing. Most of the time, their diet is supplemented with spent grain husks from the local whisky distillery. And as you might imagine, this contributes a wild, yeasty flavour to the cheese. Goodness knows what it does for the cows.
We're looking for a nice firm-bodied cheese, but it's going to have the texture of chicken breasty, like you see when you pull it apart like that.
Nice
It's coming,
and warm,
it's
yeah.
coming great.
Yeah. So the difference between this and cheddar, when I've seen cheddar made, they normally sort of make blocks
Yeah.
and then let it drain
Yeah.
down the centre. You don't do that at all.
No, we stir it to break the curd and the whey drains off. And also, I think the fact that our land is, our rock is basalt, which
Yeah.
is not a traditional cheddar country kind of land. You know, it doesn't give the nutty taste.
So let's make a quite unique
Absolutely.
adaptation of
Absolutely.
a technique.
But we're not calling it cheddar. Isle of Mull is the word.
Salt is added to the curds and they're mixed until the texture is judged perfect. Before hooping, they are milled using a traditional peg mill. After standing in the hoops for 24 hours, the young cheeses are removed and trimmed around the edges. They are then submerged in a hot brine bath for a few minutes before being wrapped in 2 layers of cheesecloth and smeared with lard. Almost 4,000 wheels of cheese are aged for at least a year in the farm's underground maturation rooms. Lovely smell in here.
This is
Musty.
the other cellar.
Very musty.
And these are the last year's cheese.
So how do you grade them up? So
Well, we're going to we taste usually one of every, we always taste one from every batch, because if that batch is good, then they're all going to be good from that day. See if it's
that's
nice.
lovely and sweet, and I get all meadow smells in that.
Well, the wood cows would certainly be good grass in June.
Yeah,
because
that'd be midsummer, wouldn't
we
it?
get nearly 24 hours light in June.
I've noticed
So-
that. It's pretty hard sleeping around here, I can tell you.
So
And it's got nothing to do. I know why you drink
makes-
whiskey all night long. It's the only way you can get any sleep.
but it makes the grass grow. June is the best.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Can I have a taste? No, you can't
There we
put it
go.
back. I don't understand that putting back stuff. Okay. Oh, that's a lovely texture. Lovely and moist. Very moist,
Oh,
tangy.
it's got really good flavour, actually.
Yeah.
Nice flavour, that one.
Happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. When it's warmed up, you
Yeah.
know, it really comes out, the taste, and I think we'll taste that for...
How would you describe
an
that
hour.
taste?
It's sort of savoury, marmitey. Delicious anyway.
Chris and Jeff have 4 sons who all live on the island. Life on this remote island requires the Reed family to be self-sufficient wherever possible. Much to my surprise, this extraordinary farm even features its own hydroelectric system.
What do we use? About 27 kilowatts all 24 hours a day.
Okay,
so
so-
we will be totally self-sufficient.
And you'll be competitive with British Gas.
I think that would be rather nice.
how about
Yes,
that?
I think British Gas should have plenty to be worried about.
Another clever idea is the wood-fired water heating system for the large indoor swimming pool built next to the dairy to hold the heat for cheese making.
When we came here, the place was an absolute ruin. There was nothing here but the bare stone walls, no roofs, nothing. There was, there was still a bit of a stairway in the house, because I remember going up there and there were sheep, or 2 sheep actually, grazing on the floorboards upstairs.
Really?
Yes. It had all gone, the dikes, you know, the walls, the stone walls, the dikes, they had all fallen, the fields were back to nature. No one has lived here for 30 years, and you'll realise that on a farm, things soon rapidly go back.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's like living in a greenhouse.
It is a bit like a greenhouse, isn't it?
That's what we call it.
Chris and Jeff are 2 of the most committed lifestyle cheesemakers I've ever met, and I can understand why they love the Isle of Mull so much. My final destination is the village of Dunlop, which lends its name to Scotland's most well-known hard cheese. It's also the original home of the Ayrshire cow. West Clarkland Farm is just a short drive from the village, and sadly it's one of the few dairies still making this famous cheese the old-fashioned way.
When these native cows are bred in this area, they're designed to, or they've been bred to produce quality milk off the vegetation that grows in this area. That's all specific to the type of soil and the climate.
So that's the Dunlop cow, which became
The
known
Dunlop
as
cow, the Ayrshire cow.
So it's just,
Right.
adopted the name. And now I've tasted the cheese, I think I can almost see why. It's lovely. Until the early 1700s, most Scottish cheese was made from skim milk after butter making and did not travel well. This changed when a cheesemaker named Barbara Gilmore settled in the village of Dunlop and began making a hard whole milk cheese using the local Ayrshire breed of cow. It quickly developed a reputation for its delicious flavour, and milk from this breed of cow became nationally renowned for making cheese throughout the British Isles.
The way we make it, it's made slightly moister than a cheddar, and matured. And again, the maturing, it's matured in here in the store, and the climatic conditions. It's a wet part of the country, it's very moist, it's wet, and it's maybe going to help the cheese not to dry out too much.
I can have another bit before we go.
Yep.
Do you eat much of this yourself?
I eat a little, but usually by the time I get to this stage, I'm sick of it.
I noticed actually on the cloth that you don't seem to put lard on the outside. Why is that?
No. Well, partly because the market, there's a growing market for vegetarian cheeses, and we don't use the lard for that
so
reason.
So you're using vegetarian rennet for the Dunlop as well? Okay.
But we found we didn't actually need the lard.
First time I've seen that. Anyway, look, the proof's in the eating. It's absolutely delicious.
Good.
Thanks. Anne also makes delectable cheeses from ewes and goat's milk and is constantly experimenting with new styles. There's no point in making great local cheese unless you have someone who knows how to look after it and sell it. One of the champions of Scottish cheese is Ian Mellis, an ex-cheesemaker himself who's established specialist cheese shops in Edinburgh and Glasgow.
I started in Orkney actually making cheese, which was great fun. I did 3 years in Orkney and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So what inspired you to set up your shops?
I was travelling abroad. I was certainly going to France for holidays and things like that. I was still making cheese down in Cheshire by this time, and I was my first cheese shops I saw were probably in France. And then I came back and I saw Neil's Yard in London and people like that, and that's really what inspired me to do.
Scotland's got to have one of these.
But yeah, Edinburgh hasn't got one. I mean, you could say a gap in the market, but it was more that I was looking for something for myself to do.
Ian now has 6 busy shops, and he works closely with local cheesemakers.
I always say that really, to survive, you've got to get down to the southeast and the big population of England and whatever type thing, and sell your cheese down there. You know, we're a small country here type of thing, but I think we do a little bit, and also we're a sort of link to sort of people see the cheeses in the shop, and people from the south see the cheeses. So it's a big marketing, not a big marketing, but a small marketing.
A vital link.
Yes.
Absolutely vital link. Here in Scotland, I'm impressed by the passion and dedication of this small but very determined group of cheesemakers. But I think the last word should go to Rory Stone.
The great thing about all the new little companies who are starting up producing cheese in Scotland is that you wouldn't have a Scotch malt whisky industry if you only had Glenmorangie. We need lots and lots of cheesemakers to make this destination cheese. Yeah. The Irish have done a fantastic job. The English are doing a very, very good job. And of course, the French have been beating us at it for a long time. But we're not the best cheesemakers in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but we're getting better.
Cheese slices in Scotland.
It's run by Ian Mellis, and it's been going for the past 20 years. Oh, here it is.
I'm afraid that's actually empty.
Empty?
I'll go and get your bottle. Would you like to taste some?
Give me a bottle.